Are you tired of feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or at the mercy of your emotions? Do you want to unlock your full potential, overcome any obstacle, and create a life of profound meaning and purpose? What if I told you that the key to achieving all of this and more lies in a powerful set of principles that have been tested and refined by some of history's greatest minds? In this video, we'll explore 12 life-changing lessons from the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, a practical, no-nonsense approach to mastering your mindset, building unshakable resilience, and living a life of true fulfillment. So if you're ready to take control of your life, to stop being a passenger and start being the pilot of your own destiny, then make sure to watch every part throughout this journey for your benefit on your path to controlling your mind. And if these principles resonate with you, if they spark a fire in your soul, then don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this wisdom with anyone who could use a dose of Stoic inspiration in their lives. Now, without further ado, Number 1. Let go of the ego. The Stoics recognized that the human ego is one of the greatest hindrances to inner peace and mental clarity. Our egos crave recognition, status, power, and control. We want to feel important and dominant. But this ego-driven mindset only breeds anxiety, frustration, and suffering. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." When we are puffed up with ego and self-importance, we close our minds to wisdom, growth, and new perspectives. We become defensive and easily threatened. The solution the Stoics proposed was radical humility. Realize that in the grand cosmic scheme, you are but a tiny speck. You are one of billions of humans on a pale blue dot hurtling through the vast expanse of space. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, "He who sees the present has seen all things, both everything which has happened from everlasting and everything which will be for eternity. For all are of one kin and of one form." From this cosmic perspective, most of the things we fret about and which our egos latch onto are laughably trivial and fleeting. Will this matter in 100 years? In 1,000 years? Let go of the ego and the need to protect and aggrandize the self. Realize you are part of a much greater whole, the human species, the web of life on Earth, the unfolding evolution of the cosmos. Stay humble and open. As Epictetus counseled, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Focus on what you can control, your choices, actions, and responses. Let the rest go. By relinquishing the domineering ego, you free your mind to fully engage with the present moment. You can face reality clear-eyed, without the delusions and emotional reactivity of the ego. You open to a more expansive sense of self, one that is in harmony with the flow of nature and the logos, the rational structure of the universe. In our hyper-individualistic modern world, letting go of the ego is supremely difficult, but it is the beginning of true wisdom and peace of mind. Start by noticing the ego's grasping in your daily life. Catch yourself when you feel slighted, when you crave recognition, when you want to be right, or to win the argument. Pause. Breathe. Let it go. Return to what truly matters. Number 2. Accept change. The only constant in life is change. This ancient saying, often attributed to the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, encapsulates a fundamental truth that the Stoics deeply understood and embraced. The world around us is in a state of perpetual flux. Seasons change, fortunes rise and fall, relationships begin and end, empires crumble, and new ones emerge from the ashes. Despite this obvious truth, we humans have a deep-seated aversion to change. We crave stability, predictability, and control. When life inevitably shifts beneath our feet, we often respond with fear, anger, and resistance. We cling desperately to people, possessions, and circumstances, as if we could somehow make them permanent. But as the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius observed, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. The more we resist the fundamental nature of reality, the more we suffer. The Stoics argued that the path to inner peace lies in accepting, even embracing, the impermanence of all things. This doesn't mean becoming passive or apathetic. The Stoics believed in working diligently towards one's goals and fulfilling one's duties. But they counseled doing so with a sense of equanimity and non-attachment. In the words of Epictetus, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy." When we release our grip on how we think things should be, we open ourselves to the opportunity and growth that change can bring. A job loss becomes a chance for a new career. A painful breakup creates space for self-discovery. The death of a loved one, while undeniably tragic, can also be a powerful reminder to cherish every moment we have with those still living. Life will always be uncertain, unpredictable, and filled with change. But by accepting this truth with equanimity, we can find an unshakable peace within ourselves. We can meet change not as an adversary, but as a teacher and a companion on the path of life. We can let go of futile resistance and instead embrace the adventure of a life in constant transformation. As the modern-day Stoic philosopher Massimo Pigliucci writes, "The idea is to live in harmony with the Logos, which is the way the universe works." Number 3, master your emotions. The Stoics argued that to live a life of wisdom and virtue, we must learn to master our emotions rather than be enslaved by them. This doesn't mean repressing or denying our feelings. Rather, it means developing the self-awareness and discipline to examine our emotions objectively, to understand their source and nature, and to choose our response thoughtfully. Epictetus counseled, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When something provokes a strong emotional reaction in us, anger at an insult, jealousy of someone's success, desire for a material object, the Stoics advise pausing and reflecting before acting. Is this emotion based on a true and complete understanding of the situation? Is it aligned with our values and goals? Will indulging it lead to positive or negative consequences? By creating space between stimulus and response, we can short-circuit the automatic, unconscious reactions that so often lead us astray. We can choose to reframe the situation, to find the opportunity or lesson in adversity, to act with courage and integrity rather than fear and pettiness. This emotional self-mastery is not easy. It requires constant practice and self-reflection. The Stoics recommended daily exercises to cultivate awareness and discipline, such as the premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils, in which one visualizes challenging situations and rehearses responding with equanimity and wisdom. They also emphasize the importance of taking responsibility for one's own emotional state. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." We cannot always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we interpret and respond to it. Number 4, simplify life. Ancient philosophers recognized that this kind of frenzied, cluttered existence is the enemy of peace and wisdom. As Seneca wrote, "No person hands out their money to passers-by, but to how many do each of us hand out our lives? We're tight-fisted with property and money, yet think too little of wasting time, the one thing about which we should all be the toughest misers." These thinkers advocated a life of simplicity and focus. They encouraged letting go of excess possessions, reducing commitments, and creating space for stillness and reflection. As Marcus Aurelius counseled, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This advice may seem radical in our consumerist society, but it aligns with modern psychological research. Studies have shown that an excess of choices and possessions can lead to anxiety, dissatisfaction, and decision fatigue. A cluttered environment can impair our ability to focus and process information. Constant busyness and multitasking can lead to chronic stress and burnout. The wisdom of simplicity allows us to direct our energy and attention to what truly matters, cultivating wisdom, virtue, and good character. When we reduce the noise and clutter, we create space for deep thought, meaningful conversations, and purposeful action. This doesn't mean that we must live in ascetic poverty or isolation. Engaging fully with the world and fulfilling one's duties is important, but doing so with a sense of detachment and inner stability is key. As Epictetus said, "The essence of philosophy is that a man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things." In practical terms, simplifying our lives might mean decluttering our homes and donating unused items. It might mean setting boundaries around work and commitments, learning to say no gracefully. It might mean reducing time spent on social media and entertainment, and instead engaging in deep reading, reflection, or conversation. It might mean cultivating a few close relationships rather than a multitude of shallow ones. Number 5. Find balance and moderation. In a world of extremes and excess, the path to peace and wisdom often lies in the middle way. The ancient philosophers understood that a life of balance and moderation, avoiding the pitfalls of both deprivation and overindulgence, is key to happiness and harmony. As Seneca wrote, "The happy life is to have a mind that is free, lofty, fearless, and steadfast. A mind that is placed beyond the reach of fear, beyond the reach of desire, that counts virtue the only good, baseness the only evil, and all else but a worthless mass of things, which come and go without increasing or diminishing the highest good." This idea of balance and moderation permeates many aspects of Stoic philosophy. In the realm of emotions, they counsel against both repression and unrestrained expression. The goal is not to eliminate feelings, but to find a healthy middle ground where emotions inform but don't control our actions. In the domain of possessions and external goods, they advocate for sufficiency rather than excess. Having enough to meet our basic needs and live with dignity is important, but chasing after luxury and superfluous wealth only leads to anxiety and attachment. In our relationships and social life, they advise fulfilling our duties and engaging with others, but not to the point of compromising our integrity or inner peace. We can care deeply for others while still maintaining a sense of self and equanimity. Even in the pursuit of virtue and wisdom, balance is necessary. Epictetus warned against becoming a sage in progress, someone who takes their philosophical studies to an extreme and loses touch with the practical realities of life. The goal is to integrate philosophical principles into daily existence, not to retreat into an ivory tower of abstract contemplation. Finding this balance is not always easy. It requires continual self-reflection, adjustment, and the wisdom to know when we've veered too far in one direction. But by keeping the ideal of balance and moderation in mind, we can navigate life's challenges with greater grace and stability. Number 6. Be present. In the rush and tumble of modern life, it's all too easy to get caught up in rumination about the past or anxiety about the future. We replay old conversations and arguments in our heads, wishing we had said or done something different. We worry about upcoming deadlines, bills, and potential catastrophes, projecting ourselves into an imagined future fraught with peril. But as the philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the present is all there is, all we have power over. The past is gone, the future is not yet here. The only moment we can truly inhabit, the only time we can take action or experience joy, is the present moment. This idea of presence, of fully immersing oneself in the here and now, is central to Stoic philosophy. Epictetus counsels, "Do not let the future trouble you, for you will come to it, if that is what you must, possessed of the same reason that you apply now to the present." In other words, worrying about the future does nothing to prepare us for it. The best way to face an uncertain future is to cultivate our inner resources, our reason, courage, and resilience in the present moment. By fully engaging with the task or conversation at hand, we develop the mental muscles that will serve us well in any future challenge. This doesn't mean that we should never plan for the future or learn from the past. Practical foresight and self-reflection are important Stoic practices, But there's a difference between rational planning and neurotic rumination, between learning from past mistakes and being haunted by them. The Stoic philosopher Seneca offers a helpful analogy. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing. Just as a good meal is best savored slowly with full attention to each bite, life is best lived by being fully present to each moment, without being distracted by hopes or fears. Number 7. Pursue excellence. This pursuit of excellence, of arete in Greek, is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. It's not about perfection or external validation, but about the continual process of developing our highest potential. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In every aspect of life, our work, our relationships, our personal development, the Stoics counsel us to bring our full effort and integrity. Whether we're writing an email or running a marathon, we should strive to do it with focus, skill, and virtue. But this pursuit of excellence is not about ego or competition. It's not about being better than others, but about being better than our former selves. As Seneca put it, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. The joy is in the striving, in the daily dedication to our craft and character. Importantly, the Stoics recognize that excellence is a process, not an end state. We are always works in progress, always with room for improvement. As Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." This understanding helps us weather the setbacks and failures that are inevitable on the path of growth. When we fall short of our goals, when we make mistakes or face criticism, we can remember that these are not endpoints, but steps on the journey. What matters is that we learn from them, dust ourselves off, and continue the pursuit. It also helps us maintain a sense of humility and perspective. Even as we strive for excellence, we recognize that we are always students, always learning. As Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This attitude of humility and openness is what allows us to keep growing, adapting, and finding joy in the process. Number 8. Develop equanimity. Equanimity is the quality of remaining stable and balanced in the face of life's ups and downs. It's the art of greeting all experiences with a calm and steady mind. As Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoics understood that much of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. When we label things as good or bad, when we become attached to specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for emotional turbulence. If things go our way, we may feel a fleeting sense of euphoria, but if they don't, we're plunged into anxiety, anger, or despair. Equanimity offers a way out of this reactive cycle. By practicing non-judgment, by accepting each moment as it comes, we can find an unshakable peace within ourselves. This doesn't mean we become passive or apathetic. We still act with purpose and strive for our goals. But we do so with a sense of detachment, recognizing that our worth and well-being are not dependent on specific results. As Marcus Aurelius put it, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." We engage fully with life, but we hold our plans and preferences lightly. Developing this kind of equanimity is a lifelong practice. Our minds are conditioned to categorize and judge, to grasp at pleasure and recoil from pain. To counter these habits, the Stoics recommend several techniques. One technique is reframing, consciously choosing the lens through which we view events. As Epictetus said, "It is our attitude toward events, not events themselves, which we can control. Nothing is by its own nature calamitous. Even death is terrible only if we fear it." By shifting our perspective, we can find opportunity in obstacle, gratitude in grief. Number 9. Conquer fear. Fear is one of the most primal and powerful human emotions. It can save our lives in moments of genuine danger, but more often, it holds us back from living fully and courageously. We fear failure, rejection, change, the unknown. We let these fears dictate our choices, shrinking our world and our potential. The Stoic philosophers recognized the insidious power of fear, and they offered strategies for overcoming it. As Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Many of our fears are exaggerated or misplaced, based on worst-case scenarios that may never come to pass. The first step in conquering fear, then, is to examine it rationally. When we feel the grip of fear, the Stoics advise pausing and asking ourselves, what exactly do I fear? How likely is this to happen? If it does happen, can I handle it? Often, just by bringing our fears into the light of conscious examination, we reduce their power over us. We may realize that even in the worst case, we have the inner resources to cope and move forward. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By cultivating self-reliance and resilience, we become less vulnerable to external circumstances that might trigger fear. But the Stoics also recognized that some fears are well-founded. There are real dangers and challenges in life that it would be foolish to ignore. In these cases, the Stoic response is not to deny or suppress the fear, but to face it with courage and preparation. As Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, then you will be happy." Instead of wishing away our fears, we can meet them head-on, doing what is in our power to mitigate risk and ready ourselves for different outcomes. This might mean confronting a difficult conversation we've been avoiding, or taking a calculated risk to pursue a meaningful goal. It might mean preparing for potential setbacks or losses so we're not caught off guard if they occur. By facing our fears proactively, we take away much of their sting. Number 10. Foster real connections. No man is an island, and this truth was not lost on the Stoic philosophers. While they championed self-reliance and inner strength, they also recognized the profound importance of human connection. We are, at our core, social beings. We thrive on authentic relationships, on the exchange of ideas and emotions, on the sense of belonging to something larger than ourselves. In today's world, it's easy to mistake quantity for quality when it comes to connections. We may have hundreds of friends on social media, but how many of those relationships truly nourish and challenge us? The Stoics would advise us to prioritize depth over breadth, to cultivate relationships based on shared values, mutual growth, and genuine affection. As Seneca wrote, the comfort of having a friend may be taken away, but not that of having had one. True friendship is a treasure that enriches our lives long after the initial encounter. It's a bond that weathers time and distance, that supports us through trials and celebrates our triumphs. But the Stoics also recognize that real connection requires vulnerability and effort. It means opening ourselves up to others, risking hurt or rejection in the process. It means being present and attentive, investing time and energy in understanding another's perspective and experiences. Epictetus advised, "In social intercourse, the right thing to do is this: put yourself in the other person's place." Empathy is the foundation of meaningful connection. When we strive to see the world through another's eyes, we expand our own horizons. We develop compassion, patience, and wisdom. This principle extends beyond individual relationships to our broader engagement with society. The Stoics believed that we have a duty to contribute to the common good, to use our talents and resources for the benefit of all. As Marcus Aurelius put it, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bees." By fostering connections within our communities, by working towards shared goals and understanding, we create a sense of purpose and belonging. We recognize that our individual well-being is intimately tied to the well-being of the whole. Of course, not all connections are positive or productive. The Stoics also advised discernment in our associations, recognizing that we are influenced by those we surround ourselves with. As Epictetus said, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. This doesn't mean we should isolate ourselves from anyone who challenges us. In fact, the Stoics valued dialogue and debate as a means of sharpening the mind and testing our beliefs. But it does mean being intentional about the relationships we cultivate, seeking out those that inspire us to be our best selves. As we come to the end of this exploration into Stoic wisdom, I hope you're feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to start applying these principles in your own life. Remember, Stoicism isn't just a set of ideas to ponder. It's a practical philosophy meant to be lived and embodied every day. As the great Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Don't wait for the perfect moment or circumstances to start making changes. Begin now, in this moment, to cultivate the mindset and habits that will lead you to a life of profound meaning, resilience, and joy." The path of the Stoic is not always easy, but it is deeply rewarding. By mastering your mind, aligning your actions with your values, and finding strength in the face of adversity, you'll discover a sense of freedom and fulfillment that can't be shaken by external events. So take these principles with you, let them guide and support you, and never stop striving for the life you truly want. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Thank you all for watching, and may you all find peace and serenity in the Stoic ways.